वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद, श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि श्री गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। नमों विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले, श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनीति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे, निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे। हरे कृष्ण।
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. So, continuing the 15 chapters, the Pandavas retired timely, and in the last few verses, we saw that as Maharaj Yudhishthir became aware that Krishna has, returned back, so he also immediately implemented his plan. And what was the reason? What was the very prominent indication or symptom he saw? Anyone remembers what we discussed day before yesterday? Why Maharaj Yudhishthir decided to return back to Godhead? Why he wanted to retire all of them? Yes, Sonika?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, Maharaj Yudhishthir just saw the influence of Kali starting.
Yes, very good. Yeah, he saw the influence of Kali and he decided to return rather than retaliate. Verse number 37, recapping. Maharaj Yudhishthir was intelligent enough to understand the influence of the age of Kali. Very important. Here, Srimad Bhagavatam says that Maharaj Yudhishthir was intelligent to understand the influence of age of Kali. But this is where we lack. We lack intelligence and do not see the influence of the age of Kali. And it was characterized by increasing avarice, falsehood, cheating, and violence throughout the capital, state, and home, and among individuals. Quarrel, dissension, and hypocrisy. This is the symptom of Kali. Wherever the influence of Kali is, there will be quarrel, and people will be duplicitous. So he wisely prepared himself to leave home and he dressed accordingly. Rather than confronting, he decided to leave. And what he did? Swarat patram vinayinam atmanam sushamam guna tayo nivya patim bhumir abhyasincha gajavahe. Thereafter, in the capital of Hastinapur, he enthroned his grandson, who was trained and equally qualified as the emperor and the master of all land bordered by the seas. Who is the grandson? Who was trained and equally qualified. Why only Sonika? Others are not hearing. अक्षय, किनके बारे में चर्चा हो रहा है? आप किधर हैं? Where are you? Which part of India?
बरगढ़ में।
इतना सर्दी हो रहा है क्या?
ठंडी हो रहा है।
अच्छा, चलिए। किसके बारे में चर्चा हो रहा है?
कली के बारे में।
नहीं इस श्लोक में कली के बारे में थोड़ी होगा। पिछले श्लोक में कली के बारे में होता था। इस श्लोक में किसके बारे में बताया? His grandson, who was qualified and trained as himself. महाराज युधिष्ठिर के मुकाबले में उनके कौन से पौत्र थे? ध्यान से सुनिए। प्रदीप प्रभु,
परीक्षित महाराज।
यस, परीक्षित महाराज। परीक्षित महाराज। About So he enthroned Parikshit Maharaj. The total land on the earth bordered by the seas were under the subjugation of King of Hastinapur. Maharaj Yudhishthir trained his grandson Maharaj Parikshit, who was equally qualified in the state administration in terms of king's obligation to the citizens. Thus, Parikshit was enthroned on the seat of Maharaj Yudhishthir prior to his departure back to Godhead. Concerning Maharaj Parikshit, the specific word used is Vinayanam. Vinayanam is significant. Why was the king of Hastinapur, at least till the time of Maharaj Parikshit, accepted as the emperor of the world? The only reason is that the people of the world were very happy because of the good administration of the emperor. The happiness of the citizens was due to the ample production of natural produce such as grain, fruits, milks, herbs, valuable stones, minerals, and everything else that the people needed. They were even free from all bodily miseries, anxieties of mind, and disturbances caused by natural phenomena and other living beings. Because everyone was happy in all respects, there was no resentment among the citizens. Although there was sometimes battle between the state kings for political reasons and supremacy. Everyone was trained to attain the highest goal of life, and therefore the people were also enlightened enough not to quarrel over trivialities. The influence of the age of Kali gradually infiltrated the good qualities of both the kings and the citizens, and therefore a tense situation developed between the ruler and the ruled. But still, even in the age of disparity between the ruler and the ruled, there can be spiritual emolument of God consciousness. This is a spiritual prerogative. So in spite of all the adverse situations and symptoms of the age of Kali, but because of the qualification, such exemplary qualification of Maharaj Parikshit, he was able to keep everyone happy and satisfied. Mathurayam tatha vajram surasena patim tatha prajapatyam nirupetsam agnin apibed ishvara. Then he posted Vajra, the son of Aniruddha, grandson of Lord Krishna at Mathura, as the king of Surasen. Afterwards, Maharaj Yudhishthir performed a Prajapatya sacrifice and placed in himself the fire for quitting household life. So the kingdom of Hastinapur was given to Maharaj Parikshit. And Vajranabh, Maharaj Vajranabh, the great grandson of Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna's son was from Rukmani, the eldest son is Pradyumna. And from Pradyumna, there is Aniruddha. And Aniruddha's son is Maharaj Vajranabh. So Maharaj Parikshit, he crowned Maharaj Vajranabh as the king of Mathura in the lineage of Surasen. And it is also mentioned that Maharaj Yudhishthir actually performed a Prajapatya sacrifice before quitting the household life. Maharaj Yudhishthir, after placing Maharaj Parikshit on the imperial throne of Hastinapur and after posting Vajra, this is Vajranabh, the great grandson of Lord Krishna as the king of Mathura, accepted the renounced order of life. The system of 4 orders of life and 4 castes in terms of quality and work known as Varna Ashram Dharma is the beginning of real human life. And Maharaj Yudhishthir, as a protector of this system of human activities, timely retired from active life as sannyasi, handing over the charge of the administration to a trained prince Maharaj Parikshit. The scientific system of Varnashram Dharma divides the human life into 4 divisions of occupation and 4 orders of life. This is occupation is Varna, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra, and 4 orders of life are Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanprastha and Sannyas. The 4 orders of Prabhupada is mentioned, okay. The 4 orders of life as Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanprastha and Sannyasis are to be followed by all, irrespective of the occupational division. Modern politicians do not wish to retire from active life, even if they are old enough. But Yudhishthir Maharaj, as an ideal king, voluntarily retired from active administrative life to prepare himself for the next life. Everyone's life must be so arranged that the last stage of life, say at least last 15 to 20 years prior to death, can be absolutely devoted to the devotional service of the Lord to attain the highest perfection of life. As Prabhupada is emphasizing, it is not only for Raj Rishis or yogis, it is for everyone. Everyone's life must be so arranged. So at least in the last 15 to 20 years of his life, he can be fully absorbed in performing devotional service and attain the highest perfection of life. It is really foolishness to engage oneself all the days of one's life in material enjoyment and fruitive activities. Because as long as the mind remains absorbed in fruitive work for material enjoyment, there is no chance of getting out from conditioned life or material bondage. No one should follow the suicidal policy of neglecting one's supreme task of attaining the highest perfection of life, namely going back home, back to Godhead. Prabhupada says no one should follow this suicidal policy of neglecting one's supreme task of attaining the highest perfection. Life should be so arranged that one should be able to achieve the perfection of life. What is the perfection of life? Ante Narayana Smriti. That at the end of his life, he can remember Krishna. And by remembering Krishna, he can return home back to Godhead. Visrijya tatra tatsarvam dukula valya adhikam nirmamo nirahankara sanchhinna ashesha bandhana Sanshinna Ashesha Bandhana. Maharaj Yudhishthira at once relinquished all his garments, belt and ornaments of the royal order, and became completely disinterested and unattached to everything. So he took the renounced order. He relinquished all the royalty. To become purified of material contamination is the necessary qualification for becoming one of the associates of the Lord. What is the verse? To become purified of material contamination is the necessary qualification for becoming one of the associates of the Lord. No one can become an associate of the Lord or go back to Godhead without such purification. What is the verse? It is there in Srimad Bhagavatam. That what is the qualification for associating with the Lord or returning home back to Godhead? Who remembers? It was from the Bhagavatam. We have heard it. We have heard it in the prayers of Kunti Devi. Now I've given you a big hint. Tell me. Bolo. I will not accept the answer from Sonika because she has already given the presentation. What about others? What is that quality called? Qualification. Namo kinchana vittaye nivrit guna vittaye atma ramaye shantaye kevalyaye pate namaha. Krishna can only be possessed by those who are materially completely exhausted, who have no material possessions. The word here is nirmamo nirahankaraha. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, okay, very famous verse, Nirmamo Nirankara. 3 times Krishna talks about Nirmamo and Nirankara in Bhagavad Gita. What are the verses? Oh, you go. Hmm? Bolo? It is not once. 3 times Krishna talks about these 2 words together. टाइम ओवर हो जाएगा भाई. No one. I will not tell you. You find out. At least give me one reference out of 3. Bolo, Dayashil bro.
Prabhuji, it is 3.30. That is
What is the verse?
मैं सर्वाणि कर्माणि
Then
अध्यात्म चेतसा
संन्यास
निर्ममो
अध्यात्म
निरहंकार
चेतसा. संन्यास अध्यात्म चेतसा. मयि सर्वाणि कर्माणि संन्यास अध्यात्म चेतसा.
निर्ममो निरहंकार
निराशी.
विगत
निराशी. निराशी.
विगतज्वर दोषो
निरा-
विगतज्वर.
Yes, very close. Yes, that also verse can be accepted. But what is the prime verse? Where both the words are coming exactly. Here it is Nirashi Nirmamo. And here in the verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is Nirmamo Nirahankara. Very close. Advaishta Sarvabhutanam Maitri Karuna Evacha Nirmamo Nirahankara. This is in the 12th chapter, 13th and 14th verse. That devotee which is very dear to Krishna. Samadukha Sukha Shami Santushta Satatam Yogi Yatatma Drid Nishchaya Mayorpet Manobuddhi Madbhakta Same Priya. And there is one more time that you find out. So we see aparigraha, completely non-possessive. Whatever possessions he has given to others. Maharaj Yudhishthira at once relinquished all his garments, belt and ornament of the royal order and became completely disinterested and attached to everything. To become purified of material contamination is the necessary qualification for becoming one of the associates of the Lord. No one can become an associate of the Lord or go back to Godhead without such purification. Maharaj Yudhishthira, therefore, to become spiritually pure, at once gave up his royal opulence, relinquishing his royal dress and garments. The kasaya or saffron loincloth of a sannyasi indicates freedom from all attractive material garments. And thus he changed his dress accordingly. He became disinterested in his kingdom and family and thus became free from all material contamination or material designation. People are generally attached to various kinds of designations, the designations of family, society, country, occupation, wealth, position, and many others. As long as one is attached to such designation, he is considered materially impure. The so-called leaders of men in the modern age are attached by national consciousness, but they do not know that this false consciousness is also another designation of the materially conditioned soul. One has to relinquish such designations before one can become eligible to go back to Godhead. Foolish people adore such men who die in national consciousness. But here is an example of Maharaj Yudhishthir, a king who prepared himself to leave this world without such national consciousness. And yet he is remembered even today because he was a great pious king, almost on the same level with the personality of Godhead Sri Ram. And because of the people of the world were dominated by such pious kings, they were all happy in all respects. And it was quite possible for such great emperors to rule the world. Vacham juhava manasi tatprana itare chatam martayav apanam shotsargam tam panchatve ajohavat. Then he amalgamated all the sense organs into the mind, then the mind into life, life into breathing, his total existence into the embodiment of 5 elements, and his body into death. Then as pure self, he became free from the material conception of life. Very advanced stage of mystic yoga. Maharaj Yudhishthir, like his brother Arjuna, began to concentrate within himself and gradually became freed from all material bondage. First, he concentrated all the actions of the senses and amalgamated them into the mind. Or, in other words, he turned his mind towards the transcendental service of the Lord. This is easy. Then to concentrate all the actions of senses and amalgamate them into the mind. And then Prabhupada makes it practical and he says, or, in other words, he turned his mind towards the transcendental service of the Lord. He prayed that since all material activities are performed by the mind in terms of actions and reactions of the material senses, and since he was going back to Godhead, the mind would wind up its material activities and be turned towards the transcendental service to the Lord. There was no longer a need for material activities. Actually, the activities of the mind cannot be stopped, for they are the reflection of the eternal soul. But the quality of the activities can be changed from matter to the transcendental service of the Lord. The material color of the mind is changed when one cleanses it of the contaminations of life breathing and thereby frees it from contamination of repeated birth and death and situates it in pure spiritual life. All is manifested by the temporary embodiment of the material body, which is the production of the mind at the time of death. But if the mind is purified by practice of transcendental loving service to the Lord and is constantly engaged in the service of the lotus feet of the Lord, there is no more chance of the mind producing another material body after death. It will be freed from absorption in material contamination, and the pure soul will be able to return home back to Godhead. This is how the process was accepted and applied by Maharaj Yudhishthir. Tritve hutva cha panchatvam takchaikatve ajuhon muni sarvam atmani ajuve brahmani atmanam avye. Thus amalgamating the gross body of 5 elements into the 3 qualitative modes of material nature, he merged the modes into one nations and then absorbed that nations into the self, Brahman, which is the inexhaustible in all circumstances. All that is manifested in the material world is the product of Mahatattva Avyaktaha, and things that are visible in our material vision are nothing but combinations and permutations of such variegated material products. But the living entity is different from such material products. It is due to the living entity's forgetfulness of his eternal nature as eternal servitor of the Lord and his false conception of being a so-called lord of the material nature. The two principal causes of the mind's being materially affected, that he is obliged to enter into the existence of false sense enjoyment with its concomitant generation of material energies. Thus, the gross body of 5 elements is produced. Maharaj Yudhishthir reversed the action and merged the 5 elements of the body into 3 modes of material nature. The qualitative distinction of the body as being good, bad, or mediocre is extinguished, and again the qualitative manifestations become merged into material energy, which is produced from the false sense of the pure living being. When one is thus inclined to become an associate of the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, in one of the innumerable planets of the spiritual sky, especially the Golok Vrindavan, one has to think always that he is different from the material energy and has nothing to do with it. And he has to realize himself as pure spirit, Brahman, qualitatively equal with the Supreme Brahman, Parameshwara. Maharaj Yudhishthir, after distributing his kingdom to Parikshit and Vajra, did not think himself emperor of the world or head of the Kuru dynasty. This sense of freedom from material relation, as well as freedom from the material engagement of the gross and subtle, encirclement makes one free to act as a servitor of the Lord, even though one is in the material world. Very important. This is nirmamo. Nirmamo means that nothing belongs to me. So Maharaj Yudhishthir, after distributing his kingdom to Parikshit and Vajra, did not think himself emperor of the world or head of the Kuru dynasty. This sense of freedom from material relation, as well as freedom from the material engagement of the gross and subtle encirclement, makes one free to act as servitor of the Lord, even though one is in the material world. This stage is called Jivan Mukta stage, or the liberated stage, even while remaining in the material world. That is the process of ending material existence. One must not only think that he is Brahman, but must act like Brahmana. One who only thinks himself Brahman is an impersonalist. And one who acts like Brahman is the pure devotee. So I'll end here. One verses are left. So this is how he withdrew all his external activities and he concentrated his mind and senses fully on Krishna, and he prepared to return home back to Godhead. Hare Krishna. Great detail of process is given here, how he did it. That is the Ashtanga process. Very difficult, very impossible to perform in this age. Hare Krishna. Any question or any contributions? Yes, Dashit Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, in the verse number 39, Srila Prabhupada is telling that everyone's life must be so arranged that the last stage of life, say at least the last 15 to 20 years prior to death, can be absolutely devoted to the devotional service of the Lord.
Yeah.
To attain the highest perfection of life.
Yeah.
Many times you also say, Prabhuji, that one should have exit plan. So
after 50 years, if a person is working, he is not in the human species. If he is working to earn his livelihood, then he is a burden of the beast. Because it will be impossible after you have spent your entire life in fruitive activity to transform or change. One will not be able to change. So from 25 to 50, if you have worked, that should be sufficient for you and the next generation. So you should plan from now. In another 10, 15 years, the plan should be over. First 25 years is celibate life, brahmacharya, 25 to 50. Maximum grastha life, not more than 25 years. Should be sufficient. And at the age of 50, one takes to the order of Vanprastha. And if he's qualified, then he can take sannyas. This is what Prabhupada is speaking. And we see the case of Maharaj Yudhishthira. He immediately left everything. He just, relinquished everything. No one came to tell him that you please leave. But there was no heir apparent also. Even we see in the case of Maharaj Uttanapad, when Uttanapad Maharaj came to know that Dhruv Maharaj has achieved perfection and is coming back to the kingdom, he did not wait. He immediately left everything and went to the forest. He did not even wait for Dhruv Maharaj to come and welcome him. Why? Because he was awakened. He was awakened. Till the time we are in ignorance, deep in ignorance, we are thinking, ये धन यौवन पुत्र परिजन इथे के आचे परिति तीरे. So it will not happen in one day. As knowledge will go deeper, detachment will become natural. As we are in ignorance, one will be very difficult to get detached. One cannot get detached. So it is the state of consciousness. Now what is the purpose? The purpose is to serve the Supreme Lord. That is why Kunti Devi is praying, Sne Pasham Imam Chindi. That you please cut, you please sever my ties of affection with my sons, Pandavas, and also with my paternal family, Vishnu. Why she is asking? Hare Krishna. The exit plan should be there. But how you will have exit plan, people? Huh? They work for 10 years, 20 years, they don't have 20, 30, 50,000. What have they done in their life? I'm shocked. This is what you see from where it began, where we started. That Maharaj used to being intelligent, was able to detect. But where is this element of intelligence in today's human race? It's so dull. You cannot detect anything. They cannot learn from others' life. They even cannot learn from their own life. And Punar, what is it? Charvita, what is the verse? Chewing the chewed again and again. Punna Punna Charvita Charvanana. We should have targets. Life should be based on targets. And this many years I will work. This should be sufficient. If, of course, you are not in devotional service. Your occupation is not devotional service. No, the foolish people, what they are doing, they are extending the retirement life. I think very recently they have done, the government, they've extended the retirement life. Why? Because there is no desire to retire. And they are so insecure, they have so much of inadequacy in their heart. Whatever they have, they feel is insufficient. They're always insecure. Human life is not meant to work for earning money or bread. Human life is meant to inquire the ultimate inquiry, Athato Brahma Jigyasa, and to apply it. Today in the morning we were having this verse, Srila Prabhupada's lecture, beautiful verse from Kunti Devi. Shanvanti Gayanti Grihananti Abhikshnasa So I was meditating on the word meaning. Shranvanti is to hear, and Gayanti is to repeat and glorify. And Grihananti is, anyone remembers what is Grihananti? Shranvanti, Gayanti, Grihananti, and Abhikshnasa. What is Grihananti? Most of you memorized this verse when we were studying. What is Grihananti? Is to accept it. Is to accept it with our heart. And Abhikshnasa means continue. Continue. Then Tayeva Pashyanti. So if you do this fourth thing, then what will be the result? Pashyanti. Then one can see. Then one will have the eyes to be able to see things as they are. Otherwise, one will be born blind. Om Ajnana Timirandasya. He will live in entire life in blindness and die remaining blind. That fortune of opening of the eyes will never happen. That samskara will never take place. So have to be very clear that where we have to lead, where we have to go. We should not get absorbed. To have clarity, work for it, be intelligent. Why remain unintelligent? Hare Krishna. You see how this is what Maharaj Parikshit is showing us. Once he came to know that Krishna has returned home back to Godhead, immediately, you see how much they had to struggle to get the kingdom and how much they had to wait. But as they got the indication, news that Krishna has returned home, immediately relinquished it, as it was useless. It has no value. He was only doing it to discharge his duty towards Krishna. And as soon as he saw someone qualified, he gave the charge and proceeded. Actually, leader is one who trains other to take his position. He is not attached that I want to remain in the post or position. That is karmi, materialist. Why? Because he has a bigger plan, that more valuable plan. What is that valuable plan? To return home back to Godhead. But if we do not have such a plan, then what is the plan? But whatever we have in our hand is my only source of survival or existence. So how can it be nirmama or nirahankara? The two words are very important. Nirmama. Nothing belongs to me. Why? Because I myself belong to Krishna. So how can anything of this world belong to me? Hare Krishna. Okay. So just don't speak and hear. Make a resolve in your life. And you can see from the life of others, is it possible or it is not possible? It's very much possible. People are leading life, but how much we are grananti, how much we are accepting. To that extent, it will apply and it will work. Hare Krishna. Okay, I'm stopping here. It's quite time. And hopefully, in maybe tomorrow is what? Saturday? Okay, so tomorrow we'll have spiritual scientist class. I'll try to come. I'll be coming. Okay, so please give the invitation, call whatever is possible in IRI students fraternity. And I at least desire to at least complete till 16th and 17th verses of chapters also. Then majorly the first canto will be done in this year. Although the thought was to complete the canto, the last two chapters might not be covered, but at least we'll cover 2 more. Then we'll have the presentations in February. On January, sorry. We have for 1 month. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari Bol.